The first scene begins with the caretaker's voice telling the legend of the Ghost Rider, a damned soul condemned to walk the earth and obey the devil's commands. A Ghost Rider had been dispatched to collect the contract of San Venganza, a parchment containing the power of 1,000 evil souls. Because the Ghost Rider recognized that this contract was pure evil, he betrayed his heritage and outran the devil himself. The scene shifts to a carnival, where the father-son stunt team of Barton Blaze and his son Johnny perform on ramps for the audience. After the show, Barton chastises Johnny for flaunting himself and acting recklessly in order to impress his girlfriend Roxanne. Roxanne and Johnny meet later that day under a tree, and Roxanne informs Johnny that her father is sending her away. Johnny decides to pack his belongings and flee with them. Before leaving, they exchange a kiss. Johnny returns home to find his father asleep. He comes across a scrap of paper. It's a doctor's report, and the news isn't good. He's been told he has terminal cancer. Crushed, Johnny rides his motorcycle to work when he is approached by Mephistopheles, who asks if Johnny will one day ride for him. Mephistopheles mentions Barton's illness and offers his assistance. Johnny asks what he can give in exchange, and Mephistopheles responds, "Your soul." Johnny responds, "Okay," thinking the man is insane or sarcastic. When the man hands Johnny a contract, he cuts himself when he opens it. This blood drop is accepted as an appropriate signature by Mephistopheles. Johnny jumps out of bed with Barton, energized and cheerful. Barton admits to Johnny that he was sick but is now as healthy as a horse. Johnny is perplexed. The next day, Barton tries a new stunt at the show, jumping through a ring of fire, but he falls short and crashes. Johnny weeps as he watches his father die, while Mephistopheles laughs menacingly. Mephistopheles approaches Johnny, promising that he will come for his services when they are needed one day. Johnny sees Roxanne at the hilltop tree, but does not join her and rides away. Let's fast forward 10 years. Johnny is the world's most famous daredevil. At a sold-out stadium, he is attempting a new stunt, jumping over a row of parked semi-trucks. Johnny clears the targets on the field, but fails to land properly, wrecking his bike and crashing into a wall. Johnny's pit crew, led by his best friend Mac, rushes to his aid and discovers him dazed but unharmed. As Johnny gets back up, the crowd erupts in applause. Later, as Johnny and his crew are driving, Mac is perplexed, believing that Johnny should not have survived the crash. Mac suggests that Johnny may have a guardian angel, to which Johnny responds mildly, "Maybe it's something else," as he looks out the window and briefly sees his face turn into a skeleton with a flash of lightning. Meanwhile, Blackheart, another strange figure, arrives at a Hell's Angels club in the desert. With a single touch, he kills nearly all of the members. Mac and Johnny arrive at Johnny's apartment, where Mac attempts to talk him out of doing this new stunt because it appears to be too dangerous. Mac is concerned because Johnny is becoming more reckless. Johnny responds that all he wants is a sign and a second chance. Back at the Hell's Angels bar, Blackheart is approached by three elemental spirits, Gressel, Earth, Wallow, Water, and a bigger Wind, and asks for their assistance in locating the contract of San Venganza. Even though they are terrified of Mephistopheles, the spirits agree, a name that angers Blackheart. Johnny is preparing for his new stunt when he is approached for an interview by a reporter. It's his old girlfriend Roxanne, much to his surprise. Johnny is so taken aback by her arrival that he is unable to respond to any of her interview questions. Roxanne abruptly terminates the interview and departs before Johnny begins his jump. Mac joins Johnny on the ramp, relieved that Johnny has agreed to remove the cars from the jump. Johnny then reveals what else he intends to put in, and the stadium roof opens, allowing 6 Blackhawk helicopters to land. Mac is enraged by the change and demands to know what prompted such a thought. Johnny explains that his father, Barton, thought it was a good idea. Johnny gets on his bike, though his thoughts are clearly still on Roxanne. He accelerates and begins to descend the ramp without warning. Johnny makes it across with a perfect landing after a few tense seconds. Johnny waves to the crowd before speeding away. Johnny confronts Roxanne and her news van as they drive down the expressway. Johnny performs a few tricks to get the van to stop so he can speak with Roxanne. Roxanne relents, telling Johnny to meet her in her hotel's restaurant later that evening. A swarm of angry motorists storms over to see what's going on, but when they learn that Johnny Blaze is on the freeway, they swarm around asking for autographs. Mephistopheles, the man in black who made the contract with Johnny, is confronted by Blackheart and his gang. Mephistopheles warns them against attempting to take the San Venganza contract and threatens them with the Ghost Rider. Blackheart is fearless. This conversation reveals that Blackheart is Mephistopheles' son. Johnny is getting ready for his date with Roxanne when he notices his hands are turning a bright red color. He washes his hands only to notice steam rising from his palms. Johnny walks out into the alley to find a brand new motorcycle waiting for him. Mephistopheles appears and reveals that he has decided to enlist Johnny's help. He explains that he has been keeping Johnny alive all this time in order for this day to come. He then forces Johnny to get on the new bike and sends him after Blackheart, promising to return Johnny's soul if he succeeds. Johnny's new bike takes off at such a breakneck pace that it leaves a trail of fire and destruction through town. The night watchman confronts Blackheart and his gang as they arrive at a train yard. Blackheart is perplexed, claiming that this land was formerly a cemetery. The watchman explains that St. Michael's Church moved the graves, and Blackheart kills him. Johnny arrives, thrashing in pain, and dismounts his bike. Johnny roars with a mixture of pain and evil desire, and fire erupts from his feet and hands. Finally, his head erupts in flames, exposing his skull. Johnny Blaze has been appointed as the new Ghost Rider. Blackheart confronts the Ghost Rider and dispatches his elementals to combat him. Ghost Rider takes some chains from a nearby wall to use as weapons, but he is stopped when Gressel drives a truck into the building. Ghost Rider appears from behind the truck, setting fire to one of his chains and entangling Gressel. As he is turned to stone and dissolves, he screams in agony. Ghost Rider blows a whistle, and his motorcycle appears. When he touches the gas cap, the motorcycle transforms into a ferocious skull and chain entity resembling the Ghost Rider himself. He's riding through town when he notices a young woman being mugged. He snatches the mugger, who tries to stab him, but the knife melts in the Ghost Rider's body. Ghost Rider orders the mugger to look him in the eyes. The mugger screams in terror as memories of previous crimes return to haunt him. When the torment is over, Ghost Rider tosses the mugger aside. He finishes his drive through town on the outskirts, clearly weakened by the impending mourning. He arrives at a cemetery and slowly, but painfully, reverts to Johnny Blaze. Johnny collapses in front of his father, Barton's, gravestone. Roxanne, enraged at Johnny for abandoning her, reports on the town's chaos. During the investigation, the cops discover a license plate from one of Johnny Blaze's bikes. The caretaker discovers Johnny and offers him assistance. Johnny is initially skeptical, but eventually changes his mind. The caretaker explains that the Ghost Rider is essentially the devil's bounty hunter, and that he must track down anyone who attempts to flee hell. Furthermore, the Ghost Rider only appears at night or when evil is present. Johnny recalls what he did to the mugger, and the caretaker explains that the penance stare was the Ghost Rider's most powerful weapon. It causes anyone who feels it to feel the pain of every sin they have committed. The caretaker tells the story of the last Ghost Rider and the souls of the people of San Venganza. He also reveals that the spirits trailing Blackheart are the hidden, fallen angels exiled from heaven. Johnny leaves to attend to some business, which the caretaker advises against because Johnny would be protected on sacred ground like the cemetery. Johnny surveys the devastation left by last night's events. He meets Roxanne, who is furious with him. Johnny returns to his apartment and conducts some research on fire elements, demonstrating a minor degree of control over his new abilities. Roxanne arrives and inquires about Johnny's whereabouts. Johnny decides to be truthful with her, but Roxanne does not believe his story, selling his soul to the devil and becoming a bounty hunter, believing he is either lying to keep her away or has gone insane. When Johnny walks outside, the cops apprehend him, believing he is responsible for the previous night's murders. Johnny denies any involvement and is placed in a holding cell by the police. Johnny is recognized by the inmates, who decide to attack him out of vengeance for never seeing him fail in his stunt shows. One of the young inmates speaks up for Johnny, but he is knocked down. The remaining inmates attack Johnny, who transforms into Ghost Rider and easily defeats them all. Ghost Rider steals the lead thug's jacket and gloves, revealing small spikes in the metal detailing. He then burns through the cell bars and leaves. He pauses for a moment before confronting the young inmate who stood up for him, then declares the young man innocent and walks away. Blackheart is seen at St. Michael's Church, questioning the minister about the San Venganza contract. Because the minister denies any knowledge, Blackheart assassinates him. When Blackheart learns that Ghost Rider has resurfaced, he dispatches a bigger to deal with him. Ghost Rider regains possession of his motorcycle and flees police custody. The cops quickly pursue him, eventually catching up with him in a dead-end alley. Ghost Rider simply tilts his bike and rides straight up the building. Roxanne is getting ready to leave when she notices the strange display. On the rooftop, Ghost Rider confronts a bigger, but they are ambushed by a police helicopter. Ghost Rider uses his chains to push the copter away from the roof, preventing it from interfering. Ghost Rider then tries to capture a bigger in the same way he did Gressel, but a bigger uses his wind powers to escape. This inspires Ghost Rider to light a chain and spin it, creating a cyclone that pulls a bigger in. The wind spirit is destroyed after a few seconds of resistance. As Ghost Rider descends from the roof, the cops make an attempt to apprehend him. He tries to resist until he notices Roxanne in the crowd. As he approaches Roxanne, the flames on his head fade. The cops take advantage of this and open fire with their weapons. Ghost Rider conjures a wall of flame and flees to the cemetery. The caretaker concludes the story of the contract of San Venganza by telling Johnny about the previous Ghost Rider, Carter Slade, a former Texas Ranger. To save his life, Slade became corrupt and struck a deal with Mephistopheles. Carter Slade took the contract and hid it when he saw what was going on in San Venganza. The caretaker proposes that Carter was buried with it. Roxanne goes back to Johnny's apartment and meets Mac. Mac mentions how Johnny has recently had strange interests, and Roxanne begins to read some of Johnny's books. She is now certain that what Johnny told her was correct. Blackheart appears out of nowhere and murders Mac. Johnny returns to find Mac dead and Blackheart imprisoning Roxanne. He transforms into Ghost Rider and tries the penance stare on Blackheart. He simply laughs and explains that the penance stare will not work on him because he lacks soul. Blackheart agrees to release Roxanne if Johnny brings him the contract by the morning at the ruins of San Venganza. Johnny returns to the cemetery, vowing to excavate the entire site if necessary. The caretaker shatters his shovel, revealing a rolled-up piece of parchment in the handle. It's the agreement. Johnny decides to take it and fight Blackheart one last time. The caretaker relents, reasoning that Johnny's circumstances make him unpredictable, and that he may have an advantage. The caretaker whistles, causing a mysterious horse to appear from the shadows. He ascends and bursts into flames. The previous Ghost Rider, Carter Slade, is revealed to be the caretaker. Both riders depart for San Venganza. Carter drives Johnny to San Venganza and instructs him to stay in the shadows. He claims that this is the end of the trail for him because he has nothing else to offer. He rides off into the sunset, ready to face the consequences of his actions for the rest of eternity. Wallow, the last surviving hidden, ambushes Johnny as he rides into San Venganza. Wallow drags Johnny underwater in an attempt to drown him. Johnny responds by transforming into Ghost Rider and superheating the water, causing Wallow to evaporate. Blackheart appears in custody with Roxanne. As Johnny hands over the contract, he lets Roxanne go. Johnny transforms into Ghost Rider and attacks Blackheart before he can accept the contract. Blackheart repels Ghost Rider's attacks and reads the contract, commanding the spirits of the town to join him. The spirits emerge and join Blackheart, who declares, "My name is Legion, for we are numerous." Roxanne uses Carter Slade's shotgun to attack Legion. It injures him, but has little effect on his progress. Johnny seizes the shotgun and imbues it with his Ghost Rider abilities, transforming it into a Hellfire weapon. Legion is disintegrated by the blast, but he quickly reforms. Johnny realizes Legion has trapped all 1,000 souls from San Venganza within him, making him vulnerable to Ghost Rider's most powerful weapon. He transforms into Ghost Rider for one last time, capturing Legion long enough to use the penance stare. Legion screams in agony as 1,000 souls' sins pass through his body. Legion reverts to Blackheart and dies, the penance stare having once again succeeded. Mephistopheles appears and congratulates Johnny on his achievement. He offers to reclaim the Ghost Rider abilities, but Johnny declines. He decides to keep the abilities and use them to counteract Mephistopheles' evil. He is enraged, but he cannot reclaim power by force, and he vows to make Johnny pay. Johnny and Roxanne exchange an emotional farewell, with Johnny vowing to go wherever the road takes him.